and it's Saturday the 15th of February. I'm going to start with a browse through this article from Hedgeye. To reach it, just Google Hedgeye or Google the coronavirus outlook, worse than expected. This is actually quite a good article, and I think it's sort of put all together all the available facts and reached what would seem reasonable conclusions based on what we're actually hearing. I mean, there are three areas of the world. There is the Wuhan and the province that it's in. There's the rest of China, and there's the rest of the world. Now, what China's been doing initially, and this is not very surprising given that they didn't really know what they were dealing with, but a lot of people just sent home, especially mild cases. So they're reporting a death rate of around 8 to 10% or thereabouts, or even more than that. But this ignored all the people who they just send home. So the death rate is now nearer 1% of the total, of course. But a lot of people have very mild symptoms, doesn't have a huge effect. And the younger and stronger you are, the better, as it were. But the nature of viruses is that they need people to infect to grow, as it were. And clearly, in an area like Wuhan, it's going to reach a point where most of the available people who can be infected have been infected. So at that point, the thing starts to die away a bit. Now, at the moment, total new cases per day, as per here. Let me just put this arrow thing on. Total new cases per day, after slowing to under 3,000, jumped by 15,000. Now, what's happened here is that two aspects. China's been manipulating the data to sort of smooth it off and hide the realities. But also, they're now they are now more aware of what's going on, so they're actually recording it more properly. So 15,000 new cases per day at the moment. Sorry, by 50,000, almost 16,000. New total deaths per day, again, was trending at 100 a day, but now it's jumped by 253, so at about 350 a day. I mean, it's quite serious stuff, really. I mean, there's a sort of human tragedy going on here, obviously. I don't want to belittle that, but obviously my job is to look at markets, and this is going to impact markets. I mean, we've already heard of issues with Apple's factory in China. A lot of Amazon stuff is sold either from China or stuff made in China. And if things had to be closed down, and as this thing develops, then it's going to have a big impact on the global economy during that period, which is not priced in at the moment, I don't think. I mean, okay, it's a short-term issue, hopefully. So the companies should recover and be back to full force within not too long a period. But obviously it is still, and the markets react to bad news. In fact, it's surprising they haven't reacted already, really. So that is of an interest, because the market, to my mind, shows what the best brains are thinking, really. Because people with a lot of money in the markets develop their own intelligence networks. They have people on payroll designed to investigate things, work out what's going on. So the market is a good indicator of what's really happening. And if the market's not too concerned, then it suggests this report may be a bit extreme. But the key points here are that within the next, I mean, firstly that, let me go down to the part. There's a guy called Ferguson who's issued a report, and his estimates are that it's doubling every 5 days. So every 5 days, if you've got 1 million infected, it's going to be 2 million 5 days later. And that means 6 doublings a month, which is times 64. So if we've got 1 million infected now, then there'll be 64 million at the end of this month, and the figures get quite huge after that. But in Hawaii, sorry, not Hawaii, in the Chinese place, whose name eludes me at the moment, within a month or two, that should start to fade away. The actual the virus will have run out of people to infect, so it'll start to reduce. Okay, so to run through a few points in this article. One point, I mentioned the 1% death rate, but it's actually 20% of the severe cases. So of the severe cases, you've got 6,000 odd recovered and 1,300 actually died from it. So 20% death rate of severe cases. This iceberg, which is how it would be looked at, really. I mean, the tip of the iceberg and the severe cases. Then you got the most people infected are asymptomatic, which is, of course is dangerous because they can travel. And it's hard to keep them in one place. And they can travel and spread it to other people who could go into the other categories, and this is systematic cases. So in China we've got that many, and internationally it's now increasing. It seems to be more than China in total. All right, it's worth listening to the interview with Dr. Neil Ferguson. There's a link there, I think. He's estimating that an infected person on average is affecting 2.6 other people, and then it takes from infection to transmission is under 2 weeks. So he reckons that currently new infections a day is about 50,000, and the total number of infections is 1 million, well above the official figures. So on the current growth path, he expects the infections to peak in this province in China in about a month's time, and the rest of China about a month later. So that suggests that the news is going to get a lot worse over the next 2 months, and that it'll then start to decline in China. The problem is how much of it has escaped outside of the rest of the world, and that's a big question mark, because it's not too clear. We have got cases in quite a few different locations, but so far we haven't got any kind of massive growth that I'm aware of. Okay, this paragraph is, I think, critical really. If the infection total is doubling every 5 days, then we'll be up to 2 million infected by February the 18th, generating 20,000 eventual deaths. As for further doublings over the rest of February into March, we can keep doubling these numbers just as easy as I can. I think the point is really that we don't know at this point how badly this thing might escape from China and infect the rest of the world. I mean, places in Asia are probably more vulnerable than places in Europe, but you know, it's an unknown quantity. But let's hope it doesn't get to a firm hold on other major areas. But we just don't know really. But certainly, there's a lot of bad news for markets, I think, already over the next few weeks, next couple of months. And how the markets react to that, of course, isn't unknown. I mean, they might think it's a local thing for China, but if it starts becoming more widespread outside China, then that is something else. Right, so apologies for the length of that, but I think it's fairly important. I mean, it could affect all our lives, obviously, so it's not a trivial issue. Far more important than the markets, really, but it does have an impact on the markets. Right, so now I've got about 8 minutes. I'll mention this, that if you don't want to listen to that through, just to skip to the 8th minute. Right, on to Ethereum. It seems to me that we've seen off the low here at 115 a 1 wave, 2 wave, and a 3 wave, and we've yet seen any meaningful corrections as a 4th wave. Maybe just around the corner, but we're looking for a 4 and a 5. I'm not quite sure how the virus would affect cryptos, in fact. I mean, it wouldn't necessarily have a huge impact on the banking system, so there's no reason why the virus should necessarily cause further depreciation in the dollar, pound, etc. But on the other hand, if it kills people who own cryptocurrencies, that they may well get sold, so and there'll be less people to buy, I guess, that kind of stuff. But that's perhaps getting ahead of ourselves. I'm not sure that the impact is terribly marked, especially as we're going through a big bull phase in my mind. I don't think that's going to change. I don't think the virus will actually affect that greatly. I've got a different count on Bitcoin. We've got a 5 wave advance. We discussed that, I think, fairly endlessly the last few reports. Still looking for a pullback, though, of any meaningfulness. I mean, what we've seen so far is not a big pullback. We need something that's a bit more significant, but that has yet to be seen. All right, gold. I've been calling for a C wave decline, and that remains a valid count, but it could be a triangle A, B, very sharp C, A, B, C, D, but both counts would call for a decline at this point, either an E wave or a C wave completion, so either of those is possible. The triangle's got support around 1555 thereabouts, depending how long it takes, and the C wave scenario would call for a low down around 1500, 1510, but it is being looked at like a triangle, but that could change if we just see it, we fall back. Right, so it was also a bit confusing at this point. We've got this 5 wave advance there, which is pretty clear. We had an ABC down to here, which is pretty clear, but the action since is just confusing the issue. It could be some kind of triangle as a final part of a correction, I suppose, but doesn't really fit the scenario very well. Also got 5 rows up here, which was looking good, but then ABC. So it could be a 1-2, and we're seeing a 3 come in now. A sharp thrust. I mean, the virus could actually, people could run for cover, as it were, to silver and gold. I mean, it's traditional to do that when things are not looking too good. But I'm not saying that would be the case, but it's one scenario. Now looking at FTSE, we have a pretty clear 5 waves up of 7274. So up to there. Now this is a pretty sharp correction. A, B, and I think it's going to continue next week probably with this virus news. But really only a move down below 7274 would question this uptrend. So it remains to be seen how that works out. I say the big question really is how the virus does outside of China. I think. I mean, it's fairly loose in China. It's just whether the borders hold, as it were, and how good the entrapment is, as it were. I mean, I hesitate to be too definite about market action, but I think a break below here would suggest to me that the news is worse than it could be, as it were. And if we start rallying, then it would be better than it could be, I think. But maybe that's a bit simplistic. But anyway, the chart pattern suggests a rally from around 7360, at which point to see the decline off 7548 down to here would be roughly equivalent to the decline off the B wave. I was just working out the mathematics precisely for yourself. Well, the DAX in the hand looks very, very positive. We have off this low at around 12,888. We have the 5 waves up there, followed by an ABC, another 5 here, and a very feeble correction. So the German index is holding up very well at the moment, which again suggests there's no real big issue, but so it remains to be seen. Having said that, having seen 5 waves up, I'd expect to see some kind of pullback. That could be an A, this could be a B perhaps, so a C wave due. I mean, 4th wave supports around 13,580 with the it's changing. Right, so I've drawn those fibs. So of the latest rally, from what I've marked as C here up to here, it seems to be a 5. 50% be down at 13,608, and that spike there I think is quite important around 13,580, I would say. But obviously holding up very well at the moment. Right, finally the Dow. You have a clear 5 was up, although we've got a fairly truncated 2 here, 2 and 3 and a 4, big 4, and a 5 part 5. Here too, we're not seeing much of a decline really. A, B, no more than you'd expect after a rally. In fact, less than you'd expect from a rally of that sort. And the 50% level is down here around 28888, and we're well off there. That could all change next week. I mean, I think a C wave down to this sort of level is very possible, and something to watch out for, basically. I mean, it could well be a buying opportunity, but again, it's difficult to see quite how that would fit in with the news that we're getting. We have got the election, of course. I mean, it may be that the election is a bigger deal for Americans than the virus, because they probably feel quite safe about the virus. And in fact, maybe we should all feel, maybe in Europe and America we can feel, I don't know, it's a difficult question really. I mean, people obviously are travelling out of China, or were travelling out of China, getting on planes, going to ski chalets in one case, infecting 8 other people or whatever. They all fly somewhere else. So the potential sort of seems to be there for something that's not too good, but there's not too much sign of it right at the moment, I think. Anyway, like note, I think I called it a day. Quite a long report, but the first 8 minutes I think are quite important on the virus and how it might develop. So have a great weekend. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.